Hey everybody, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com, and today and next week I want to talk to you about compressors. And specifically today I want to talk to you about what I guess I'm calling for today the secret ingredient of compressors. I'm going to show you an example using compression on a drum bus, okay? So the thing about compression is when used well, it's an awesome tool. But if you don't use it well and you're not sure about some of the settings, you can really kind of jack things up. And so one specific example is we're going to talk all about the attack knob. I feel like the attack knob, especially when you're doing something like using compression on drums, individual drums, or a drum bus, the attack knob is kind of the secret ingredient that you have to get right, or the rest of it just doesn't quite come together. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Most people, and this actually comes, I was talking to a drummer friend of mine, doing actually kind of a mix lesson with him, specifically on mixing drums. And he was showing me his setup, and for his drum bus, what he had was a very popular bus compressor, but he had it set to, he used one of the presets up here, and I forget the name, I'm not going to, the type of compressor and the name of the compressor doesn't matter, but he used a preset that was for drum bus, a drum bus preset. And the preset had the attack set at something like 3 milliseconds for the drum bus. So he would dial in his compression and something interesting would happen. So let's just take a listen. I've got this compressor set up on my drum bus. Here it is. I'll bypass it first and then I'll engage the compressor and listen to what it does to the sound. Did you hear that? Listen again. The drums go from having a kind of a little bit of a non-compressed sound to a very compressed sound. But that's not the only difference. You lose the punchiness. Listen to the front end of the kick drum and the snare. And in the uncompressed mode, they have all this punch and this really kind of depth to them. And then when the compressor kicks in, you lose all that. Listen one more time. Hear how it sounds like the kick and the snares are kind of running into a wall? That's kind of what's happening because we have such a fast attack. It's not letting any of those transients come through, hardly at all. So you lose all that punch that you'd worked so hard to build up in your drum mix. So the simple solution is to just dial this bad boy back. And there's no set number. I'm not going to give you a number that you should try, but just listen to what happens to the sound of the drums as I dial this back from 3 milliseconds up to maybe 100 milliseconds. Listen to how the drums open up. Doesn't that sound more like a drum kit? Now, you'll notice the compression, the gain reduction has gone down quite a bit. That's because we raised the attack, and so there's not as much compression happening. So we can actually lower the threshold some now to get that same amount of gain reduction, but then listen to the difference in tone. It still has a lot of punchiness to it. So now let's listen to it. Now that we've used a slower attack and we've lowered the threshold a little bit, we have the same amount of compression we had before. Remember how that sounded so squished and so kind of like everything was hitting a wall? Now listen to the difference. We're going to play it bypassed and then add the compression back in. We're going to maintain the punch and the clarity of the kick and the snare, but we're going to add in all of that kind of warmth and that squashness of good compressed sound. We're getting the best of both worlds without killing our transients. Take a listen. This is without. Now listen what happens one last time so you can get the final sound in your ears is going back to that fast attack. Listen to what happens to the sound when we revert back to that really fast attack. all the punch went away. It's all gone. And it's kind of sad. And if you didn't know any better, you would just bang your head against a wall trying to use EQ or something else to get that punch back, not knowing that all you had to do was turn the attack up. So I'm going to, for the outro music of this video, I'm going to dial the attack back up so you can hear that nice punchy drum sound. And then go back into your studio and try this on a set of drum tracks of your own. And if you're interested in a series on mixing drums, I actually did a 7-part series for my VIP members that you can check out over at homestudiocorner.com/VIP. And you can get access to all those. It's a pretty cool series. I had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next week.